Could we be seeing the end of some of our favourite larger creators in the political sphere on social media? We are going to discuss that and a few other things today. Welcome back to Playing in Politics. Damn, it's been a week, hasn't it? It's been a week in news. Yeah, what we feared the most has now happened in terms of the Ofcom regulations, which we're going to talk about in a minute. We're gonna get to that, okay? But as I say, welcome back to Playing in Politics. If you've never seen my face before, hello. Welcome to my politics and makeup podcast where I talk about politics and I do my makeup at the same time. My name's Anna, hi. We just have a fun old time over here, at least we try to, depending on what we're talking about. We've talked about like some quite deep stuff in over the past couple of months. I like to say that it's like Bailey Sarian, the true crime creator, but without the murder. And today we can actually say that because nobody's dying. Well, somebody did die in an attack in London yesterday, which we're going to talk about. But overall, with the main theme of this video, nobody's dying. Alright, let's get into this. Yeah, it's been a week, hasn't it? It has been an absolute week. Let's start off with where we left off in the last episode. If you haven't watched that video, by the way, I break down everything that's happened with Rupert Lowe getting suspended from Reform UK and all this stuff, because it was very dramatic. As you'd probably expect, it was not something that we were necessarily anticipating, and we talked about how it was very similar to what happened with Ben Habib, and there's rumours that Lee Anderson's going to be next. You know, there's a whole load of stuff, so if you want to know about the drama to do with that, so you're all caught up, go over to watch that video, okay? But the update that we have, it has come out, is that Nigel Farage could have potentially broken the law when it came to kind of the formation of Reform UK. Now, as we know, he's best buds with Zia Youssef, who is the investor and now chairman of Reform UK. And everybody was really like side-eyeing him because it's like, who are you? How did you get here? Which is perfectly valid questions. Again, we talked about that in the last episode. But when it came to when Reform UK started, obviously Nigel was known for the Brexit Party beforehand, and apparently there was some money in some trust rather, in the Brexit Party, which apparently he, as allegedly, this is not confirmed, we're still waiting for more information on this, but he apparently sold some of those shares that were in this trust, so basically charity money, to Zia Youssef to help build up Reform UK. So that's the latest drama when it comes to that. I want to know what you guys think and what you've heard about that in the comments, because when I heard that I was like, oh, so we're back to money laundering, we're back to this kind of scam. And you know, it's interesting because with money and everything, Nigel has had a bit of a rocky few years, hasn't he? I think we all remember, what was it, 2022, when he was getting when he got his bank account shut down, and until that was a whole drama. Do you remember that, when he just like got his bank account shut down like really suddenly? Obviously this was back when we all supported Nigel. We've all got mixed feelings now. Again, I talk about that in the last episode because my support for him has dipped dramatically over this past sort of few months, especially few weeks. But yeah, so when it comes to money fraud, you know, there are some things when you really think about it and you put some things in hindsight, it's thinking, maybe there was something deeper to all these things that we don't quite know about. You know, maybe he's not quite the responsible guy with his money that we all thought that he was, you know, all up in arms, like, why, you know, this is getting his bank account shut down over free speech, like, there are some questions to be asked and some questions to ask ourselves of like, really, should we be supporting this dude? But yeah, that's just kind of another layer to the cake that is Reform UK. It's the disaster party at the moment, isn't it? Again, let me know what you think in the comments, and if you've heard anything else about that, I would love to know, because I didn't hear anything else, and that's kind of all that I've heard. I think that's all the information we have on that at the moment. But yeah, I want to know what you guys are thinking about Reform UK and Nigel and all this kind of stuff over the kind of the aftermath of what's been happening with Rupert Lowe. And also, just to clarify the fact that Rupert Lowe is continuing to get denied access back to the party. I mean, he wouldn't want to, let's be honest, but like, direct from the horse's mouth in a lot of ways, from people like Nigel and Tyson things, and we talked about that in length in the last episode, as I say. But yeah, we are still getting that now to this day, that like, yeah, no, he's completely banned, and they're just basically trying to rub his name through the mud. So that's the update we have on that. Now, as I do my eyeshadow, let's talk about the main topic of this video, which is Ofcom. right? Let's cast our minds back, shall we, to 2019, when the Tories were still in power, and basically they were coming up with this online safety bill. I think we all remember it, right? And we were all kind of protesting it at the time because we thought that it was going to be detrimental to free speech and just online safety in general, like it was going to basically like screw up social media platforms, and it just wasn't going to be a good idea. There were several reasons why. Nobody liked it, and obviously it went ahead anyway because the Tories, their main aim with that, at least that's what they said, was to crack down on like child predators and terrorists, right? To try and crack down on like actual extremism, which okay, all well and good, but like many things that have happened, not just like with this, but like with many policies that have happened over the past sort of few years with this government system that we have, is that once the Tories kind of start something, everyone's going no, because eventually you're not going to be in power anymore, and Labour's going to be in power, and they're just going to abuse it and make it worse. And unfortunately, that is exactly what has happened here. Now, I'm sure you've heard several rumours over the years about Ofcom just not being the best when it comes to free speech and allowing free speech, and, you know, with kind of the mainstream media. Obviously, they regulate the mainstream media anyway, they always have done. This is, you know, this is not new information. Also, the reasons why channels like GB News, as much as I like GB News, you guys know this, has been restricted over the past, you know, it's obviously not been around for that long, but, you know, there are things that they maybe would want to say but haven't been able to say because of Ofcom regulations, and that's because they, as much as try and stand for free speech, they are still at the end of the day a mainstream media channel. It is what it is, you just have to move on with it. However, when it comes to the online safety bill, and this is a fear that's been going on for a few years now, is that people feared that Ofcom were eventually going to want to regulate new media channels and social media, because I've made a whole about like 3 podcasts back, I think, is my episode about the rise of new media and kind of my relationship with it, and kind of how I started this channel, and my relationship with channels like Tusi TV as it is now, things like that. I go into all of that stuff, and yeah, there is definitely a massive rise in new media, not only channels like Tusi, but also kind of in the States, people like the Daily Wire. I mean, we talked about the whole scandal with Brett Cooper and everything in that episode about the new media rise, because that was fresh at the time, but obviously they still have people like Ben Shapiro, and Brett Cooper's obviously made her own show now. I haven't really been keeping up with it. Apparently it's been doing really well. I've watched kind of the odd clip like on her social media. She seems to be doing really well, and I do support her, so well done, Brett. There has just been a rise, and there are a lot of people who are doing it now, and you know, it's a good thing to see, and we've talked about this before, you know, it's good to have people who are able to kind of speak up and not be regulated. Also, we thought, because now the Labour government, as I say, which we have predicted this, and it was a long time coming, but we weren't sure how they were going to do this, but they have now permitted Ofcom to basically start to regulate social media. Now, the way this was first predicted was it was going to be a sweeping thing, that they were basically just going to regulate everyone and everything, and it was just like overhaul. However, that is not quite what's happening, and it's going to be interesting. Now, it's still bad. Don't necessarily breathe a sigh of relief too much. I mean, breathe a sigh of relief in a way, because it means that they're not coming after you, and they're not coming back to me as a small channel, because I'm not big enough yet. And also, I don't think I'm that controversial. I would like to not think so. I'd like to think I'm nice and chill over here. That's what we're trying to do. But people like Tusi, people like the Daily Wire, could be affected and are affected. Apparently there's a list that's come out that is all of the channels that, and all like the accounts with large followings, who are going to be regulated and are going to have people looking over their shoulder, and this is going to come with some serious repercussions. Now, Tusi TV reported on this. I think this all came out news-wise on Sunday night. We did a live stream and we were all just like, boo, like it was all sort of like the funeral of the new media and free speech, really. It was all a bit of a one, and you know, I was talking to some people on my Discord server on that night, and a lot of people were really scared about what was happening, which again, it's not like unreasonable to be, you know, a bit worried about this, because yeah, this is something that we didn't really want to happen and now has actually happened. Do mourn it in a way, because it is still bad, right? Basically, this is how it's going to work. It's going to be individualized, as I say. It's going to be the bigger channels that are going to be affected first, and they might like roll this out. So what does this mean for new media channels? Well, I would be sad to tell you, but I'm gonna tell you. What causes you to have these consequences? And this is, as we probably could have guessed, incredibly subjective, because the wording they've used is kind of content that can cause psychological harm that amounts to at least serious distress. And the way they phrased it is basically like, you know, they had intent to cause distress and like there was no real reason for them to be sending this message, because they are going to be regulating not just kind of online platforms but also apps with messaging, so like things like WhatsApp are going to be affected by this as well. And yeah, so if it causes psychological harm, like, and they had no real reasonable reason to be sending that message, the consequences of this are not just on the content creators as well, but also on big tech platforms. So let's start with the big tech, because obviously that's probably where our first minds go, is obviously they're going to be going for the big tech companies and going, hey, we're going to be looking over your shoulder, you can't do anything about it. Now then, so things like YouTube and X and Rumble, be good boys, okay? but it's the repercussions that they are going to potentially face if they have non-compliance that actually shocked me to my core. This is evil stuff. So, if you are unaware of how these companies work, so things like X, for instance, have offices not just in America but also in the UK for tax reasons, right? And not only are they going to be fined, like, on the revenue, it's 10% of their revenue, right? Not only is it 10% of their revenue, it's 10% of the global revenue, okay? And the fines can go up to £18 million global revenue. This has massive consequences for big tech companies. I mean, obviously they make loads anyway, but 10% of their global revenue, global, Keir Starmer, listen, this stuff is evil. This stuff should not be happening. This is the kind of stuff that says, oh, so he's trying to do communism. Like, this is the kind of stuff we're dealing with, okay? On the content creators and people who are, you know, causing these horrible crimes, this is the kind of stuff that they're gonna face, because again, it's the kind of like stuff that causes psychological harm. It also goes in kind of like misinformation route as well, and the kind of stuff that they could potentially face, oh, listen to this, up to 2 years in prison. Not only like fines and things, but up to 2 years in prison. Now, we've talked at length on this channel about the problems with the prison system, and, you know, with when we talk about Tommy Robinson and illegal immigration and things like that, you know, we've been quite vocal about the fact we do not have space in our prisons, alright? For the people who need locking up anyway, like, the justice system has been so flawed with these things, and we've talked about this, like, when we were talking about Axel Rudikabana, the Southport killer, but when it comes to free speech, and unfortunately, and I was saying this on the Discord server the other night when all this was coming out, those who were there can vouch in the comments, but I was saying, you know, we're already seeing this, and it's something, I mean, as much as I said it, you know, it's quite obvious, is that we're already seeing this kind of stuff, and we have been over the past couple of years, of people being locked up for free speech. People have been reporting people if they don't like what they've been saying, and unfortunately that could could be ramped up a bit with these new regulations. So I want to know everything that you have to say about all that in the comments, because yeah, all this stuff is shocking. Now, I don't want people, as I say, to panic too much, because as much as obviously we've known in some areas, again, people are just getting locked up for messages and things, and like posts on Facebook that are like potentially misinformation, and like, you know, obviously the case with Peter Lynch. But really what I think this should be a sign of is a sign that we should still be fighting back, like more than ever now. And my GT said this on his live stream when he was first talking about it, is like, yeah, don't worry guys, like we are basically going to be fighting back, which is obviously good. And obviously with these, you know, laws and things being completely subjective in every sense of the word, it is just absolutely ridiculous that this is the world that we're living in. And yeah, I'd say it was kind of a prediction that was coming for a while, and you know, some of us could see it coming, and we were like, watch out guys, this is going to be the next move. And yeah, in a way you can sort of blame the Tories for this. I'm not entirely blaming the Tories, because I mean, yeah, the online safety bill, when it was first proposed, I think it came in like 2023, this sort of thing. I know it said 2019, I think that's when it was kind of first mentioned, but 2023 is like when it really came into power. And yeah, at first, yeah, obviously this was a good thing to like be cracking down on like the actual extremists, because that's kind of the thing that the Tories are really trying to, at least were trying to, you know, make a difference on. And you know, if you guys don't know, I am still a Tory, but have been since 2019. So you know, I've seen this all go down. Yeah, so it was good at the beginning to sort of try and get some change going in that regard. However, as I said, there were warnings at the time. Be careful that the next government is not going to try and make this worse. And unfortunately, because of the way that politics has gone, especially with the last election, and now we're in the situation that we are in right now, yeah, that is exactly what's happened. But again, this is a time for us to fight back. Now obviously, those who were panicking maybe about my channel, don't worry. You can see my subscriber count at the moment. I'm not I'm not on the list, okay? And there are obviously going to be other people out there as well who have similar followings to me, maybe slightly larger. And really, this is our time to step up. Now, you know, this is kind of my call to action moment is, yeah, if you have a smaller channel, if you're thinking about starting a smaller channel, start that smaller channel before the sweeping statement, like before the sweeping policy comes in, because the more of us start our own movements, God forbids that something happens to, say, 2CTV or any of the other kind of bigger accounts and channels that we watch on a regular basis. You know, God forbid anything happens to them, there still needs to be a fighting force there. You know, just because they're cracking down on the really bigger ones who've been there for a while, and I'm sure we, you know, we have our favourites. Obviously, my 2UC being a personal friend of mine, so obviously that's kind of my go-to example. But you know, again, this is really our time to step up as people. Social media can still be an incredibly powerful platform, and the more of us use it for what it's meant for, and what, you know, what we can use it to, you know, fight back against this, is going to be so crucial. And I think this is such a crucial time. And also stick to platforms, I'm not going to give them ideas, but stick to platforms like chat forums, like Discord. You know, I was mentioning Discord. If you have a Discord server with your friends that's political or things like that, you know, make sure you keep, you know, free speech alive over there as well. I know I will be on the couple that I'm on, because it's really important that we keep doing that. And yeah, as I say, just if you've had in the back of your mind, I really want to start a channel, or I really want to like post more on X or something like that, you know, this is really your time, so we can start to build that force and build that sort of army of free speech in a way, because that's really what's going to help all this move smoothly and show the establishment that, you know, they can't beat us now, you know. Just trying to think what I can use on my lid, because I've got a really nice like smoky liner here. I've not done this kind of style of makeup in a while, so this is quite fun and a bit of a throwback to like me in 2023. But yeah, no, this is good. Oh, that works. Yeah, that's gonna go with the lipstick I'm gonna use in a minute. But yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about on there. And yeah, as I say, if you've been thinking about it, if you've been thinking about speaking out more, then this is really the time to do it. As I say, you know, the more that we let them silence us, the easier it is for them to be successful, and that's the last thing that we want. And yeah, no, I do feel bad for the big tech platforms, especially like considering that Mark Zuckerberg, for instance, has just come out and been like, you know, I'm finally free, thank you Donald Trump, when it came to like the Biden administration trying to, you know, get all like the fake news and stuff taken down from Facebook. Wow, that looks a bit insane. I'm gonna blend this out, I promise. But yeah, so it is an interesting time. And as I say, the fact that it's gonna take over the global revenue is a bit insane. Now, it's interesting because obviously there's question marks over whether this will affect kind of the US creators. I'm not entirely sure, because obviously we've still gotta know how this is fully gonna work. We only know kind of a little tiny bit at the moment, which is, you know, these powers are now in force. They were in force from Monday. But yeah, in terms of, I guess, how the US creators are affected, I'm not entirely sure. If anyone has any answers to that, leave that in the comments. I am really gonna have to lighten this up. I'm gonna have to find something that's really gonna lighten this up a bit, because I look a bit insane. Trust the process, guys. Trust the process. But yeah, no, I want to know what you guys think about all that in the comments, because yeah, it was probably the biggest news to come out of kind of, well, last week, beginning of this week. And as I said, we have been kind of seeing this coming from a while, but we weren't entirely sure if it was gonna come out, and then it did, and now obviously we're living in it. So it's yeah, it's been a time. It's been a time. Cramping my hand from the eyeshadow palette. So the final story I wanted to talk about today was was yet another attack. Now, I don't know if I've really talked about this much on my channel, but around Christmas, I'd say, in kind of the beginning of this year, in Europe, we've been seeing quite a lot of very unique and different technique in terms of terrorist attacks. Now, I don't want to, obviously, I'm not glorifying it. That sounds like I'm making fun of it. I'm not, right? But we have been seeing quite a lot of people ramming cars through crowds. It seems to be like the trending way to try and kill people. I don't understand what's going on. Obviously, we do understand what's going on. We have a massive issue in this country and Europe as well. But it seems to be, as I say, the new favourite. And unfortunately, because central London is central London, we have seen a attack yesterday outside King's College London. King's College, the university in Lambeth, I think it is. I've been past it one of the times when I was in London, but anyway. It happened again, essentially, and yeah, a car was driven through a crowd of women, of course it was. Now, obviously we don't know the identity of this person yet, or we're still waiting for information in regards to that, but yeah, as I say, this is not the first time we've seen this style of attack, and it's a lot of the time, and I think I've talked about this in shorts before, but a lot of the time when these attacks happen, the kind of reports that come out are very much like, you know, a car drove into these crowds, and it's like, okay, so was the car self-driving? Did the car do that itself? Because I can guarantee you now that was not the case, right? And yeah, so it's sad. It really is disgusting, and the fact that this keeps happening to women again is just an example of, you know, why we should be really waking up to this stuff, because it keeps happening. And yeah, the level of shock, again, I mean, I'm gonna bring up a point that Mighty said in his live stream when he reported on this, was that yeah, the tone of voice that we all kind of adopt with these things now is very kind of nonchalant, not really that surprised, because we keep seeing this stuff happen, and 10-15 years ago this would have been an absolute shock horror moment, right? But because it's happening basically daily, like, and there's like a few attacks like every week now, the level of shock that just comes out, yeah, so like the level of shock, or like the lack of shock that's coming from us, you know, we can literally just report this kind of deadpan and like with no real emotion, because as I say, it is just happening way too often at this point. So there was a man who is 26 apparently, who was arrested at the scene. Unfortunately, a woman in her 20s was pronounced dead at the scene, so RIP to her, you know, prayers to the friends and family. Again, we say all this every time with the whole like sending prayers, sending thoughts, all this stuff, but the same point comes up every time. What we have to say is that yeah, we shouldn't have to. We should not have to, and yeah, it is crazy disgusting that this just keeps on happening on a weekly basis. And yeah, as I say, this disgusting way of like just ramming a car through a crowd just, as I say, seems to be the favourite at the moment, and it's horrible, especially because, as I say, this is happening to women. It was a group of women. Apparently small children were there as well. One witness statement that we've had has come out and basically said like, yeah, he was trying to like ram into some children, which we've seen before as well, targeting children, especially in central London. This again has happened, and it should just not be happening, but we all know the reason why, and we just need to keep talking about it. And I'm trying to adjust this the best that I can. But yeah, no, as I say, it just keeps happening, and I say this every time, and I'm not the only one who has to keep saying this, but like we just have to keep talking about it. It's the only way that we're gonna see any kind of change with these things, is yeah, we just keep having to raise this issue and say, hey, we know why this is happening and we want change, and we want to see, you know, the people who are causing this not being let into the UK. And I think that is the biggest thing, is that yeah, if people who were committing these crimes weren't being let into the UK and were being deported, we wouldn't have this problem. It's that simple. It really is, guys. It's not it's not that hard. It should not be that hard. I think I've finally got the eyeshadow to a place where I'm kind of happy with it. So we're gonna move on to my base, but yeah, I want to know what you guys think about everything that we've talked about today in the comments, because we are living in a world where things are changing at a rapid pace, and yeah, it is crazy that, you know, we are now in the sort of almost dystopian situation where people can go to jail for 2 years for hurty words. And Ofcom is now regulating YouTube, which is not a thing that we would ever like genuinely have thought that we could have said like a few years ago. Obviously over the past couple of months, people have been saying like, yeah, this is probably gonna happen, but again, we weren't entirely sure how it was gonna happen. Obviously now we do. They're gonna be going after the bigger channels, which I suppose makes sense in terms of like manpower, I suppose, because obviously they've got a lot of things to regulate now. They're just kind of adding to the list. And Ofcom, as we know, have not been our best friends. If you're on the kind of this side of the internet, we know that we don't really like Ofcom. Ofcom side with people like the BBC, and if you're on this channel, we know we don't like the BBC, and I mean, I bet you don't like the BBC, because a lot of other people don't like the BBC for perfectly good reasons. The BBC is a vile machine of corruption. So yeah, it is all just a very interesting time, and yeah, it is sad, but you know, we have to keep the hope. As I was saying earlier, you know, we have got to start fighting back, even though they're trying to silence new media channels and social media, and obviously they're going after the bigger channels. So for now, as I say, this is a perfect time for people to start to rise up and start their own channels. I know that personally I'm proud that I have this platform and that I've managed to find people who, you know, interact with me on a regular basis when I upload my content, mainly thanks to my 2C's Discord server, hey guys, which has provided me quite a few new subscribers, which is nice, and I found my little sort of hub of free speech people again, which is nice because I've not had that in a while. So yeah, it's an interesting time. I personally feel quite secure that I'm going to be okay. I know that a lot of people won't feel like that at the moment, and again, I just want to reassure people that, you know, at the moment we're all going to be okay for the time being. And yeah, as I say, if you've been thinking about starting a channel like mine, or if you are again like posting on X more, or just being more outspoken, as I say, you know, this is the best way to fight back, is to play them at their own game and go, hey, we're not scared of you, and you know, we will fight back until your regime and scheming is defeated. Because yeah, no communist dictatorship has ever succeeded. Socialism cannot work, and we've said this, you know, I'm sure that you've heard other people say this, and I'm sure you had that viewpoint as well. I know I certainly do, is that yeah, it can't work in the way that they're trying to do it, especially, is just, it's not for the people. You know, it's all marketed like, oh yeah, you know, for the people, and it's like, no, it's not. And we've seen this with the way the Labour Party's changed, and I know we've talked about this on the channel before, I'm pretty sure, and I've said this personally to people, but it's just not what it was. It's like how the Tories just aren't what they were or what they're supposed to stand for, which I've definitely talked about before. But yeah, but it's the exact same for Labour. They don't stand for what they claimed to stand for maybe like 20-30 years ago, and we really have to recognise that and, you know, smell the roses in a way and smell the coffee, because it's gonna destroy this country. It really is. The way that it's going is absolutely disgusting, and as much as when Trump got in, I remember I made a podcast episode saying like, you know, back in like even 2016, even 2020, I was not a Trump fan because I thought he was an extremist and I thought he wasn't going to be good for America. I thought that Biden was going to be a lot better for like the gun laws and things and the regulations, but obviously now with this free speech crisis that we've got, and obviously he's also dealing with what's going on in Palestine and with Israel, or more like Israel trying to defeat Hamas, you know, that's the actual way, that's what actually is happening. But like, you know, with Elon Musk as well, I know a lot of people have said like, come on Elon, purchase the UK, and we talked about this in our last episode as well, is that yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Elon Musk does come over and try and interfere with our politics. Now, I think I said it, I can't remember if in my last episode or whether it was a short or something, but I was like, Paul Musk, I don't want him to, you know, get too much on his plate. But then this is happening, I'm just like, okay, well now X is going to be affected, so he really does need to step up and start fighting back and start saying something. And I'm sure that he will. I'm not too sure if you've had any statements from the US or like the White House or anything about this topic. We should have done, because I'm sure that Donald Trump heard this and went, you fucking what, mate? So yeah, I'm sure that they will have said that they are going to say something and they're going to try and do something. The one thing I also do want to mention is this is not a time to run away from our country. I had a conversation with somebody that I know from the Discord, basically saying like, you know, we were relating over the fact that yeah, we don't agree when people just run away to different countries. Like I know a lot of of people are like, oh, you know, I want to like run away to America because Trump's in power, so that means I'm gonna be free and it's gonna be all hunky-dory. And it's like, okay, so you're just gonna let this country get worse? You're not gonna fight for the country? Where is your patriotism, you know? Like, that's not true patriotism if you're running away from the problem, sorry. But like, and I get it, it's the same thing with Dubai. I will never understand the Dubai hype. Like, why are you running away to like some Middle Eastern country? Like, I thought they were the problem, you know? So it has always been bizarre to me, and I feel like we're seeing like a rise in that recently, which is again bizarre, because yeah, fight for this country, you know. During like the world wars and things, people weren't running away to another country to get away from fighting for the UK, right? At least I'm sure they weren't. They were there to fight for this country, and people died for that, and we're seeing the same thing for free speech again. Peter Lynch being an incredible example of that, and with the treatment of Tommy Robinson in prison at the moment, which we've talked about extensively on this channel. So yeah, this is not a time to be running away to somewhere where you think it's going to be a paradise safe haven, because trust me, that is not the attitude you should be having. And you can fight me about that in the comments. Feel free. That's what we're all about over here. But yeah, please just stay. As I say, the best way to fight back against this is to speak up. Is to start your own channel, is to start your own account, is to, as I say, fight back and play them at their own game and keep free speech alive so that they don't succeed in completely cancelling it out. It's basically my attitude towards it. Moment of silence while I curl my lashes and do my mascara. So yeah, again, I want to know what all your guys' thoughts are about everything we've talked about today in the comments. What are your thoughts about the Ofcom thing? Are you going to be, again, starting a channel or posting more on your social media to try and fight back against this? Like, what's your attitude going to be? Are you feeling scared? Are you feeling anxious? You know, like, you feel free to seek some comfort in the comment section. You know, we are always a safe space here for that. Like with anything, we're always going to be a free speech and safe space for anyone with any views or whatever. So again, just leave whatever you're thinking about everything in the comments. You are very welcome to do so. Again, personally, my attitude is basically just going to be keep going with my channel and the things that I'm doing, and, you know, keep talking about what needs to be talked about with my friends and, you know, my relatives and things like that, and especially on this channel, on my social media platforms where I do talk about politics. Obviously, I don't always talk about politics in every social media platform I have. You know, I have my X account and obviously this. My main channel on my Instagram is girly stuff like fashion and confidence advice and empowerment and stuff like that, and my photo show shoots that I do and things like that. So it's a completely separate thing. But yeah, no, I'm obviously still very proud of the fact that I have started this, and I'm now able to really have much more motivation to kind of keep going with this, because now that we've had this news, again, it is kind of the smaller channels like mine that, you know, this is our time to really step up and shine, and especially support the bigger creators who might be affected by all this legislation that is now coming. And yeah, I mean, I do want to say, kind of be careful with what you're saying. So obviously, because obviously the way, if this is going to go ahead in the way that they're saying it is, you know, obviously the justice system is going to be absolutely overloaded with people, because we know that's kind of been their attitude, is go after kind of anyone and anyone who doesn't agree with the narrative that they're trying to push. And unfortunately, we are going to see more of that, as I say. But yeah, obviously don't try and do anything on purpose that's going to like get you in jail, but just carry on what we're saying, because again, what we're saying is not a crime and shouldn't be a crime. And, you know, free speech should never be a crime, should never be something you should go to jail for. Yeah, again, this is just a time for us to really ramp that passion and that attitude up, really. Okay, I'm gonna do my lip off camera, and then I'm gonna come back with my concluding thoughts. So yeah, that's what the makeup ended up turning out like. Yeah, not done a look like this in a while, like just neutrals. But yeah, no, this was fun. I like the way it turned out. Very cool. Very smoky, kind of glam, kind of sexy. Right, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As I say, this is a very interesting time that we're living at the moment. As I say, it was kind of predicted, but now we know exactly how they're trying to roll this out. And yeah, as I say, this is really the time to fight back. This is really the time to keep up what we've already been doing, but like up 10 notches, you know. Keep supporting my channel, keep supporting the small channels that you support, as well as your bigger accounts as well. And yeah, just keep praying that nothing happens to kind of the pioneers pioneers of the free speech movement, especially on things like YouTube and X and things like that. So yeah, leave all your thoughts and anxieties and worries and everything in the comments. I would love to hear from you and to, you know, provide some comfort if you need it, you know. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more of my future podcasts or my news updates on my YouTube shorts, which I do sometimes, and these come out every Wednesday if I can. And yeah, leave all your thoughts in the comments. Free speech, let's keep fighting for it, let's keep the fight going, and I will see you guys in my next podcast episode.